In part 1, we looked at where money came from in the first place, after we began farming around 10,000 years ago. Societies got bigger, so swapping things to get what we needed got more complicated. We started using tokens for swapping, like salt, oil, metal, or meteorites. Metal became very popular, and by 2,000 years ago, lots of societies were using coins. This video will look at where paper money came from, and how, very soon, things all started to get a little crazier. The Chinese, we think they were the first again, started using paper money around 1,000 years ago. It was much easier to store, hide and carry than coins. But, unlike most of the coins floating around the world until now, this paper wasn't actually worth anything itself. Like lots of our money today, it was just paper, a promise from someone that would be able to swap it for something good. So you really had to trust the people in charge. The Arab world had also started using paper money. With their very clever number system from India, they were by far the most advanced in maths, which enabled them to build an impressive monetary system with checks, savings, loans, debits, and even banks to organise it all. Europe was a bit behind in these medieval times, and paper money took another few centuries to appear. Because coins were still their main form of money, Europeans needed all the metal they could get, which was one of the reasons they started sending ships off to explore far-off lands. They found piles of silver and gold in South America, tore it all from the ground, with the help of lots of slaves and indigenous people, and brought it all back to Europe, which helped them catch up with Asia and China a bit. Once the Europeans had a taste of foreign riches, they couldn't stop, and spent the next few hundred years taking over far-off lands and building vast trade empires. Lots of merchants got very rich, and soon didn't have enough space or padlocks to store all their riches. Enter the goldsmiths, who offered to guard these riches in huge vaults, giving the merchants notes stating how much they had put in, and so how much they could take out. These notes took on a life of their own and started being exchanged like paper money. Soon, the British government wanted to get in on the action. By the late 1600s, they were pretty strapped for cash and needed to rebuild their navy after some big battles with France. They also had to keep up with the Swedish, who already had a central bank that was issuing banknotes. So in 1694, the Bank of England was created, and they were to be the only ones who were allowed to give out banknotes. Just like the goldsmiths' notes, these were notes promising people an amount of gold from the bank whenever they wanted it. But then, the Bank of England tried to get ahead by giving out more notes than there was gold in the bank. This plan failed, obviously, because with so many banknotes out there, they became almost worthless, which we call inflation. So, in 1816, the government set a gold standard, which said the bank could only print as much money as the value of gold it had in store. So people knew that their banknotes were promises that could be kept. Want to know what happened next? Want to know how money became completely imaginary? Hit the subscribe button and tune in for next week's episode.